Hey everyone, welcome to part 14 of the Basic Training Booster Pass Edition. Today we're going to cover everything you need to know about Snowland on 150cc. Despite the fact that this might seem like a straightforward course, there are a couple of pretty tricky strategies that we need to learn, so let's dive on in, shall we? The first thing to point out is the build that we're using. This course is entirely made of ice, and is therefore quite slippery, so we're going to be using our usual try-hard build, but replacing Bitty Buggy with Streetle for the added traction. The basic idea for this course is to take all the turns much tighter than your brain is telling you to. Case in point, even though the first two turns are nothing to write home about, you can take this right turn very tightly so that you end up close to the right hand side of the track with a Super Mini Turbo. After that, we're going to release that Super Mini Turbo by doing a left hop into a right drift, grabbing the two coins closest to the inside of the track. Then we're going to build up another Super Mini Turbo and mushroom off the ledge here, landing on the off-road below and hopping back onto the track before the Super Mini Turbo wears off. Note that you do not want to jump there, you just want to use your mushroom and release your Super Mini Turbo when going off the ledge. Now hitting that shortcut is honestly quite a bit more complicated than I made it sound, so let's walk through some of the things you need to pay attention to. First off, it's important to point out that we need to approach the shortcut from a kind of wide angle, and the left hop before the right drift will help us out in that endeavor. Following up on that point, after grabbing the coin on the left, you want to tighten your drift angle just enough to grab the leftmost coin in the second coin line, and then widen it up again by holding left. Then, as soon as you grab the coin from the second line, hold a hard right and use your mushroom, which should put you just to the left of the corner of this little V shape here. The last step is to release your Mini Turbo just as you go off the ledge, which will help you get a little bit of height. You'll land in the off-road, but like I mentioned before, a single hop should be all you need to get back on the track. Now it might not seem that complicated, but if you go too far off to the right, Lakitu will pick you up before you even make it halfway across the gap. And if you go too far to the left, you won't actually be able to even make the cut in the first place, and again, Lakitu will have some very condescending and angry words with you. So it is a tricky shortcut to learn, but that being said, you can do this a bit more safely by purposely taking a wide line and then jumping at the top of the cliff, which will give you more than enough height to make it back down onto the track. Now if you're not running with mushrooms, there's a different shortcut you can do where you cut the off-road around this last right turn here. It's not super difficult to do, but you do need kind of a good setup for it. Similar to the mushroom cut, start by doing a left hop into a right drift so that you can build up a Super Mini Turbo before you get to the off-road. Then, you need to wait until just after getting onto the off-road before you jump. I'm not exactly sure why, since this is kind of different from many of the other Shroomless shortcuts in the game, but if you do it right, you'll get just enough height to clear the first hill, and then you'll land in the off-road, but keep all of your speed. Now, however you've managed to get to the icy hairpin turn, once you're there you can pretty much just hang a hard left around it, widening up your drift angle at the end to grab two of the coins before the ramp. It's possible to build up an Ultra Mini Turbo like you see me do here, but you have to have a decent handle on soft drifting to do so. So if the timing is too tight, it's better to just release the Super Mini Turbo as quickly as possible. The rest of the track is pretty straightforward. Trick off the ramp and grab the two coins on the right, and then just do a wide right drift, tightening up as much as possible before you get onto the final straightaway. After that, it's just one more wide left drift to grab the two coins, and a right drift to finish up the lap. One quick thing to point out about this ramp here on the right, it's possible to hit that ramp Shroomless, but it's actually slower than just going around, which is why I don't go for it in my runs. Lap 2 is pretty much the same one except for the fact that you don't need to grab coins, so let's just quickly talk about the world record. They use the Baby Daisy try-hard build, and so as you might imagine if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that this means more Mini Turbos and higher levels of Mini Turbo. Honestly, the run is pretty similar to the strats that I went over, but there are a couple of key differences. First off, they do a little off-road cut towards the end of the lap on all 3 laps. It's pretty tricky to do this in a way that saves time, so I don't really recommend going for this. The other difference is that on lap 2, they do a Mini Turbo trick off of one of the crags in the icy hairpin turn section. They don't do it on lap 3, but I'm assuming that this was a mistake. Not surprising because this is a very tricky ramp to hit properly. So that's all the strats, let's talk a bit more about the track while checking out my current personal best. And by the way, if you found the video helpful so far, it would be really great if you could click the like button so that it can get spread to more people, since that's by far the best way to help out the channel. Now, Snowland. I'm honestly not quite sure how to feel about this track. I absolutely love the music and it's got a really cool track aesthetic, but online, the way the item boxes move around the track makes it kind of unpredictable. Additionally, the mushroom shortcut saves a ton of time, which is again really cool for time trials, but online it can mean that trying to run the track and stay in first can actually be detrimental to your overall performance, which is kind of a bummer. That being said, like I've already hinted at, the track is really fun to time trial despite how simple it is overall. Actually, rather than say despite how simple the track is, I should say it's probably because of its simplicity. Oftentimes, tracks in this game have a ton of really precise and complicated strategies you have to learn that either save you a few tenths of a second if you get them right, or cost you like a minute and a half if you fail. But this track has just the one mushroom shortcut, and a Shroomless version if you're practicing for online play. Neither of these are particularly hard to learn, and they both save a pretty good amount of time, so it's like a course that's specifically designed to cater to non-tryhard players. And Lord knows after spending 10 hours on Mushroom Gorge and 15 hours on Sydney Sprint, my aching hands definitely appreciate the break. Now I've talked a bit about the mushroom shortcut, and after watching this video you should be able to replicate it at least fairly consistently, but if you're still looking for some additional tips, I have a video that goes over the shortcut in a bit more detail, and I even show how to do it with inward drifting bikes. So if you are still having problems with that shortcut, go check out that video after you're done with this one. And that's everything you need to know to play Snowland on 150cc. It's definitely one of the more enjoyable time trials that I've done recently, and I hope that you all have had as good a time on it as I did. Now before you go, again, please don't forget to click the like button and also leave a comment with your personal best and whether there are any strats that you're still having problems with. As always, thank you all very much for taking the time out of your day to do some basic training, and I will see you in the next video.